G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm taking you to Ubud in Bali and I'm going to run you through what I think is a great 2-day itinerary. So this is you heading up to the mountains for one night or maybe two, but you've got 2 days to spend in Ubud. What are you going to do? I went up there with the kids and we had a fantastic experience. I'm going to take you through what I think would be a great itinerary, what worked for us, and hopefully this inspires you to follow in our footsteps. Let's go. So the best thing about having a couple of days in Ubud is you can do a little bit to mitigate the heat. It gets really, really hot, it gets really, really humid, and especially if you're traveling with kids, but even if you're not, it does mitigate what you can realistically achieve in the middle of the day and still not be at each other's throats. So what I recommend for your first day is to go see, especially if you've got kids, is to go see the sacred monkey forest, the sanctuary. So you can, it's relatively center of Ubud. You can arrive there in the morning ideally, but it doesn't take, you only need a couple of hours really at the forest to see it all. And it's a really fun experience. You kind of, you walk in, it's a maze of kind of ancient temples and really old trees and statues and pagodas. It's very, very cool. And as you kind of move through it all, there's just monkeys everywhere. And they're obviously the centerpiece. And just kind of watching the way we behave with each other, what they kind of get up to, making sure that they don't get your stuff. I did see only one thing get taken while I was there. Some monkey got some dude's cigarettes and started pulling them apart. I did see a monkey go onto some guy's bag, but then just kind of fall off. I tucked my hat away, but we really didn't have any physical encounters with any of the monkeys with the 3 kids, even though, you know, they can get within half a foot of you. So it's one of the key things to do in Ubud. It doesn't take that long. It's nice to do it a bit earlier in the day when the temperature hasn't quite got up. And then from there, you can kind of walk up to the center of town. Now, this kind of experience will take you through past a whole bunch of shops and souvenir places, kind of give you an idea of the layout of the town, how it works. And when you go up to the center area, there's kind of a big temple complex that you can kind of have a little walk through. It's free, but there's also lots of restaurants and everything. So around this time, you're probably going to want to be having some lunch, something to eat. And there's lots of options around there that are going to be really affordable for you and give you a really nice big feed. Now, on your first day, there might be a temptation to try and push on. You can walk from here or get a little ride down, say, to the Campuhan walk and try and trek that. You can potentially go and look at something like an ATV or an experience that's kind of less about the culture and more about just doing some sort of adventure activity. We actually found it, especially with the kids, it was better to go back to the hotel for a couple of hours. It just gets so hot in the middle of the day and you're better off leaving a little bit of space there to try and get down to somewhere to swim. Now, if you don't have a pool in your hotel, there are a couple of waterfalls in the area that you can go to. The one that we went to is Blangsinga Waterfall. That was excellent. It's got a huge waterfall that kind of pours off the this kind of river, just pours off this giant cliff. You can go down to the bottom, you can swim with the kids. It's really, really, really fun. And there's places to eat, there's places to drink, there's even like almost like beach clubby style pools you can go and hang out in. You can really spend a couple of hours down there. There's lots of rocks, you can build formations in the rocks. There's little bridges going over the between the rocks. It's just a really good way to spend the heat of the day. So if you don't have, if you are willing to kind of do that trip, it's about 30 minutes south of Ubud, that particular waterfall. There are other ones, but that's the one that I can vouch for. And you can actually hang out there, right up until kind of the sun's starting to set, and it gets super spectacular. And as the sun kind of sets down through the gully, you'll get all the colors, and the atmosphere just jumps up. Now from here, you can get back into, if you've hired a private car for the day, or you can, there's obviously grabs as well that you can organise or order. You can go back up to Ubud for roughly when the sun's setting and go to the dance. So there's a kind of bunch of fire dances. We went to the Ubud Palace Legong dance show. which was long and a little bit freaky for the kids, but it was like a rich cultural experience. And the whole kind of center of Ubud there just like turns into, I wouldn't say it's party town. There's just so much action. There's just so much going on. There's lights. There's lots of people about, bikes whizzing past, and lots of places to kind of have dinner and then watch the show. So it's a really fun night out, and it's going to give you a really good idea what that Ubud vibe is like into the evening. Obviously, then it's time to go back to your hotel. Now, day 2, I spoke briefly in the last day about your day 1 of your itinerary about hiring a private driver. Now, this is quite easy to do. Chances are that the villas or the hotel you're staying in will have contacts, or you can just find them on literally on Facebook groups like Bali with Kids, for example, where you can literally ask for a private driver, and our private drivers are on there, and they'll say, yep, where do you need to get picked up, where do you want to go to, and you can hire them for the day. So you don't need to do that sometimes because Grabs can just get you around relatively easily, especially within Ubud. But there are places out of Ubud where the ability to use a Grab is restricted, because they go to villages where the locals have right of private transfer. So I have had situations where I've been dropped off by a Grab and then can't order a Grab to get out of there. So when you want to head out of town a fair bit, a private driver is recommended, especially with kids. Now, for this second day, I'm going to recommend going up to an area that's about 40 minutes north or so of Ubud, where there's 3 really great things that you can do. And it's going to be pretty much most of your day. And at this point, at the end of this, you're either going to head back to your hotel because you have got a second night, or you just sit there for 2 days, 1 night, and you're going to be heading off towards either the airport or to the resorts that are closer by the coast. So here's what you can get up to. So you'll see the rice terraces have 2 names. There's the Sea King Rice Terraces and there's the Tegalalang Rice Terraces, and they're exactly the same place. They just got 2 different names. And there's a various kind of different packages you can get when you go there. The package we got, because one of my oldest son wanted to do the zip line, and that's quite expensive. That was about 30 to 35 Australian dollars by itself. Or you can get a swing package where you can do about 3 or 4 different swings for around the same price, about $25, $30 Australian, that is. You can just do 1 swing if you want to, and you get this photo packages. There's a little restaurant there as well. So what we did is the 2 of our kids, the younger 2, got the swing package. My oldest son got the zip line, and that's what they did. And it was it's really fun. It's not a particularly different or spectacular rice terrace to many others that you'll just come across in the Ubud area. But then the addition of the swings and the zip lines and all the little paths and tracks you can follow does make it really fun. And we ended up staying here probably about an hour longer than I expected us to. I thought, we'll just go and have a swing and that'll be done. But we ended up staying there for a good couple of hours, and it was really, really quite enjoyable. So the actual name of the holy springs is the Pura Tirta Empul, with the Tirta Empul stands for holy spring that bubbles from the earth. Now this is a Hindu temple, and it's associated with Vishnu, which is the Hindu god of water. It was built way back in 962 AD, and according to local legend, King Maya Denawa was who poisoned the waters to defeat his enemies in the area, and Vishnu struck the ground to create this holy spring and basically restore health and purity to water in the area. Now, tourists are more than welcome. It cost us about $30 to get in there for the 5 of us. I think it was $7.50 roughly Australian per adult and $5 roughly for the kids. I think kids under 5 are free. And they did give you like a sarong and the clothing that they'd like you to wear while you're in there. Obviously, you want to have your swimmers underneath, because one of the big things to do here, and you don't have to do it, is to put your head under the 13 fountains, and then you say kind of like an intention or a prayer under each of the fountains to kind of bring them true. And that's kind of the traditional custom of coming here to the holy springs. Now, there is this little change area that they provided for you, so you can go off. Like I said, that they gave us, we didn't have any sarongs, and they just gave us some to use while we were there. And there's a little change room. It's not particularly nice. It's a bit smelly. It's a bit dank. With some lockers in it, but you can kind of go use them and get changed and come out. And then the process of actually standing in the line and going through each of the 13 fountains is pretty epic. So we stood in it for a little while and went, far, this is going to take all day. And we ended up just queue jumping, because there's maybe 8 or 9 of them on one side of the area, and then there's like the last 3 or so are on the other side. So we actually just cut across in the end and just went straight to the last one, just to do it with the kids and to have that kind of experience. And it was really fun and enjoyable. And there's a few other things you can explore in the area as well, just other kind of temple structures and so forth. There's also a pond that's just full to the brim with carp, and there's a restaurant that faces right onto that, which you can get some pretty cheap, classic Balinese food in it, like mee goreng and so forth. So that's there for you as well. But just be aware that when you exit the temple, it's one of those classic Indonesian tourist attractions where on the exit, you're walking through a maze of shops for what seems an age to get back out to the parking spot. Honestly, it feels like it goes forever, but you will get out of it. Just keep following it and you'll eventually pop out back in the parking lot. Went to the ancient ruins, the 11th century ruins. They're called, I think they're called Gunung Kawi, and they were awesome, really awesome. Took 400 steps or something straight down, or 300 steps straight down and straight up, which isn't that many, except when it's 150,000 degrees humidity and 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Look, I was really impressed. It's a World Heritage listed site. I think it's really easy to forget just how deep Balinese culture goes, especially if you just sit on a beach at Kuta, smashing a long neck of bintang, or up in your resort in Nusa Dua, or even doing a yoga class in Ubud. It's easy not to just think about, how rich and ancient the Indonesian culture is, the Balinese culture is. And I really just thoroughly enjoy going and seeing what they had created, 1,000 years ago. And walking through it and amongst it, and it was so uncrowded and so peaceful. I totally recommend doing it. So there you go, guys. That is what I think is a great 2-day itinerary in Ubud. Like I said, we did it with 3 kids. They were aged 7, 10, and 12 at the time. We had a really great time. We saw a lot. We did struggle with the heat, but there's not much way you can get around that. And we were pretty culturally full at the end of it. Like I said, there are lots of things in the area that are more adventure focused, like you've got your ATVs and you've got your water rafting and things like that. We steered away from those things, but you know what they're like, okay? You don't really need to be told what that's like. Instead, we kind of focused on the more culturally leaning experiences, and we, even in a short amount of time, I feel like we got a really good impression of what Ubud is like. Anyway, have a look at the channel. I've got detailed reviews on each of those experiences that you can go check out for yourself. We also have plenty of other content going up from all around Indonesia, in Bali, and also around Southeast Asia in general. But otherwise, I'm Chris Stead. Thank you very much for watching. Please throw me a subscriber. Everything is self-funded, so I do rely on subscriptions heavily. Until next time, I will get back on the road. You!